live. Welcome to the SEO news for week 40. That was last week. Yes, that's the only thing I never have prepared is the week number. My name is Frederick Drost. I work at Precis.com, and we've got Linus, my co-host, who's been missing for a few weeks. He's been too busy working hard, but he's joining again, and we're going to talk about the SEO and AI news. There's a lot of that stuff too here. The first one, I put it as important must read, but they're all kind of related. The first four ones. Chatgpt launched instant checkouts and Agentic Commerce Protocol. And now everyone is panicking. Everyone is freaking out. What does it really mean? I shared in the next one here, one of our head of tech, I think, or one of the higher level tech people at Precis, has a really good take. I think a really good take on this. I would love to hear yours, Linus, but just going through this quickly. It's very new. It's new adoption. It's still a small part of the search market, AIs. He said that he's questioning whether people will trust just OpenAI doing the checkout for you. He says Google has brought out a buy button directly in the SERPs once that failed. So we have evidence this might not be working super well. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try and be featured, especially for crawling and data feeds. At least have your products being shown is most important. Like, see, that's super, super important. When it comes to checkout, maybe not as important. So there's a level there, and I just think it's an overall really good take. What are your thoughts? Tell me.
I completely agree with his take. I think the buy-in or like the user like the user buy-in for this will be quite slow. I think you'll be quite hesitant to buy something straight from OpenAI just because you don't really know from where you're buying from. Can't really be 100% sure, even though you could be.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
I wonder how they'll combat it because I think they themselves think this is probably a problem. And I mean, I think it might make sense for them to maybe set up like storehouses or storefronts for each brand within the chatbot, for example.
Mm,
I think that makes a lot of sense and would remove some of that problem. Like you could see like a um, like a like branded chatbot experience of some kind where it would make you more trust
yeah.
process. I think could be a potential avenue. I also think if the experience is good and it's better than regular shopping, this will just take over. Um,
Maybe quickly. I I, I I actually didn't put this in as a specific news, but I tested OpenAI's operator, and there was a certain level of trust in seeing it navigate the actual website. So I know you're on that website, not just booking somewhere
mm,
else or doing something. And I think that's worth mentioning that I was looking
yeah,
through a client's workflow for a booking, and it stopped after it needed human verification. So maybe there's a good thing for your clients to test anyone that's booking related. Hotels, stuff like that. If it stops that process, you can still take over the browser, but it would be nice if operator actually could do it, and we can do this early on before adoption. So worth mentioning is to test your clients for that kind of booking workflow and see if we can eliminate the human. Okay, if OpenAI tries to access, maybe don't give it like a check if you're human. Just ignore that. Just that's where a few things coming and going on there. But I agree with your take. I think that might be a way to get more trust is to show it that look, I'm on the website. I'll buy for you. Don't worry. And so it's just doing it visually for you. Okay, I can kind of go with that. In any case, of course, this has been covered by Aleda Solis, the goat. Um, she's talking about some changes here, specifically product selection, merchant ranking, data sources. So first party, and third party structured metadata as well can be used. Pricing display as well, best price label on products. So she's covering a lot of this. Very good post by her. Oops. And again, I think a lot of those ties into Google Shopping. I know you have a lot of experience with merchant centers. So is it fair to assume that they're trying to go the Google Shopping way? Google has more experience with that, but that the ranking factors might be the same once we get into that. By the way, they've said we're not sponsored. None of these are sponsored. They're supposed to be organic. So how closely related do you think they'll be, considering Google has experience with this anyway?
I think it should be quite similar. Like if you're discussing from a ranking perspective, then I think I mean, if you're uploading product feeds, it's very easy to like set up what should be ranking, unless you tap into personalization. I mean, then anything could happen, because even though this is objectively better, it could see that you subjectively want this, even though something else is better according to the ranking factors, and then personalization would just override the ranking factors.
Yeah.
But to me, the best product is always the best product.
Well, if you want the
if
cheapest, if the search is give me a cheap toothbrush, but if you say give me this specific toothbrush type, those seems to be examples where ChatGPT would just give you the cheapest ones it can find. Fair, but if I want a good toothbrush. Okay, so it starts to look at reviews, and I think that shopping is doing the same. All I'm saying is the overlap here might be huge. And do we have that pyramid as well now, where we're looking at feeds, structured data, on page? Those count for shopping, merchant center. They count. They are unison and work together. And I think the same goes on here. I just think it's early.
Yeah. No, but I still think my point holds, where it's like, um, if you're searching for specific products, the specific product that you will get served will always be served the same way, both across ChatGPT and Google. It will have the description that fits the bill the most. It will have the best reviews, and the products will be listed the highest. Will have the lowest price for its features.
Fair enough.
Like, if you could get the same product with the same features, but you could get it 25% cheaper, it's a better product.
Yeah, and then I think they're mentioning here, she's mentioning a trust signal. So again, store reviews, whatever it can gather.
Yeah.
And this is where that's why Google is such an advantage. It's got all that feed and all those reviews and all that data, and I have like the whole platform connected, and they don't. So they still need to find trust signals, but can they afford to go out and crawl the entire store and get that information? And that's why we need to feed it that. So I think I think it replies to shopping feeds as well. Any shopping feed, more information, more details, better descriptions, as much any review. Like if you can start adding actual reviews and text, and you're getting so much more granularity, and it doesn't have to look for it. So that would be the recommendation for just getting product visibility, essentially, for anyone listening or watching. When it comes to the checkout part, there is something called Agentic Commerce Protocol, or ACP if you want another acronym to remember.
I love acronyms.
Yeah, so again, there's a link to that. That's the official. So if you have a web shop and you want to integrate that into it, the checkout process, a lot of these checkout companies who have plugins code for this, a lot of like e-commerce CMSs probably already hands-on, knee-deep working on this. I'd be surprised if they didn't ride that wave. So contact them before you start talking to your devs. But if you have very custom checkout, here is the protocol. Of course, in the video description, you have all the links to all this cool stuff you're seeing. But that was really okay. So that was 4 pieces of news just around that.
And I think also worth highlighting here, that since, as I understand it correctly, you can have as long a product description as possible, kind of within the product feeds. So I think also tying into what you said about Google having a head start, I think they also realized this, and that's why they want you to give as much info as possible. Because I discussed this with someone internally, and it's like, but this is bad SEO, because we'll just overload it with information. But it's incredibly good for OpenAI to get a 5,000 word description for a product.
Again, I think it's a long tail issue where if a product has many users. So I remember seeing cases where people were leaving great reviews. So this was user generated content, but I guess you can still call it product related. They were leaving reviews, but they were being prompted to say, well, what did you use this for this occasion? And people would say, I used it for a wedding. It was really great. And so it came up in searches, wedding dresses or dresses for weddings because of that UCC. But you could also put that in description. And so you're getting into that long tail space. You became, and so I think that's the ranking thing here, and the same goes for AI and how it can pick a niche long tail search. So it's the richness of that. Was it the use?
100%.
I think helps a lot.
No, 100%. But it's also, I think it's kind of both ways. Like this is how we rank for those terms within the chatbot, but it's also the only way it could rank a product for that term. Like I think OpenAI realizes that if we don't have a really, really long description for this product with very specific detailings of where it can be used, we won't be able to
Yeah,
rank it properly
yeah,
in different contexts.
and I think we've seen for the last year that if I type best dress wedding dresses, it just Googles and finds these other affiliate listicles and throws those up and synthesizes them, which is shitty. But if it actually has access to all that product information and can index it and start, that becomes now it's completely like it's better, and we're not relying on. We don't get those people that are just cheating and throwing up their listicles on their own website. So
Yeah.
it's going the right way, I suppose, in terms of quality. Let's see. We'll keep you posted. Subscribe. But let's move on maybe to something. Oh, well, that's still AI technically here, but some minor news. We work with a lot of Scandinavian companies in the markets, specifically, Precis is a Swedish company. So if you are in Sweden or have a Swedish client, there's some pretty interesting numbers here on AI and the usage specifically for Sweden. So much better than maybe using like these generic global analysis. So just wanted to share that, not going into detail with that. Um, then, of course, let's see here. We've got another post. These are very popular amongst, I would say, the respected SEO community is the AI SEO versus traditional SEO. And I think it's because a lot of people are coming out. I've heard rumors, I've not seen it yet, of companies literally are created now just offering AI visibility services and making money, bank. But they're just repackaging SEO and they don't have the experience. I think a lot of times now we do have an AEO offering, but we are not hiding the fact that it's a lot of SEO in there, and it's just an add-on, so to speak. So we're not being disingenuous here. But what I took away from this, which was interesting, is again that we have mentions in without URLs, which is training data, which is PR mentions in the training data set, and then we have the URL citations, and then again going back to Bing, Google. So he's really just laying out how that's a very simple take on it, but it makes sense. Now again, now we also have products from feeds, so that's the third layer of source that we talked about with ChatGPT. But overall, a lot of this is just SEO, and I just want to remind people. I'll remind them every week if I have to. If people are just saying AI SEO, it's not really what you need. And also read some analysis, do a little bit of traditional research. This one is interesting though, so I'll share for those who can see this, Data Chaz, a pretty good follow on Twitter here. He's got a list of hidden operators, as he called them, that can change answers on just a few examples. For example, step by step, checklist, exec summary, dev mode, pretty interesting. Compare. So a lot of these operators I actually didn't know exist, and I think it's really really cool. You can keep context windows open. You can use chain of thought. So there's a bunch of cool things I'll be testing here, specifically again for ChatGPT, but we're using it a lot. So I know everyone here is using it that's listening. So just pretty good resource here. And then this one is
I think also worth highlighting here.
Yeah, please.
This is not tied to SEO, but it's just something we're taking into account as well. ChatGPT going to GPT-5, where you can't really, unless you're paying for it, you can't change the like underlying system either. And it probably has to do a bit with, depending on what you're searching or asking it, you're going to be getting different answers depending on what operator you're surfaced with, and sometimes in the same setting. Like and I think they probably want to hide this because I mean, sure, it might be sensitive. Like if you ask it a very very like personal question, it needs to serve you a very sensitive version of itself that might be censoring itself a bit, just because, I mean, lawsuits and whatever, depending on what it could say. So I think that's also worth taking into account, that there's probably even more operators than this.
Yeah, actually, you must be right. Yeah, but I'm gonna have to check these out at least. That's pretty interesting. Maybe we can surface some more. We'll share if we do. This one again, I'm sharing my screen just to show the screenshot here. This one is quite interesting. Google has surfaced I have to pronounce this correctly. Incentivized reviews. I was like, that's actually a big deal because I don't want to read an incentivized review, which basically means you've got an incentive. Maybe they paid you, they get you an offering, something, and people don't know what the factors for that is. So if you are incentivizing customers to leave reviews, Google might know it, but how? If you're doing it through email, can Google read that? Can Google use Gmail? Are they even allowed? I don't know how they got up with this stuff. Maybe if it's written on the site, just be very careful if you are incentivizing reviews because it seems like it's popping up, and to me it sounds like that's a really big no-no as a trust signal. So just check your own reviews, how they surface in Google. Make sure you don't mention incentivization. I mean, again, maybe don't incentivize at all, but you can still incentivize and give. You can still be honest, have honest reviews. I think like it's quite dangerous to putting this up without explaining why. So yeah, just now you know it exists. And then finally, another important read more here. Really good guide here from Everett Sizemore. Cool name. How he's using Screaming Frog, OpenAI embeddings to create internal linking opportunities. I think I have a version of this in Colab, but this is just a little bit more easier to use, I think, for most people. And it really does give you the URLs, and then hey, we found this topic to be quite relevant to link to. We haven't found a URL. Like that's and then it does that for many different topics related to your URL, and you can just go through that list. So I think it's a really good guide for large-scale internal linking opportunities. I'll definitely be testing this version of it. So yeah, just a really good guide. Have you done anything recently in terms of internal linking? Screaming Frog?
No, I haven't. But there's some in the pipe, so this might be a very nice thing to test out.
Yeah, it's if any website if you get a client in with a lot of content, you can start by running that. Also, I have many clients that are producing content from scratch now over a year, and usually I say, well, every 6 months we might do this, every 2 months, or 2 months, sorry, every 6 or 12 months. So you kind of create content, does the analysis, update, continue. Is a good way to kind of look at this. But they're getting easier and easier to do, but you still need to go in and actually do the work. We can't really replace, I don't think we should replace humans to that aspect yet. That's it. Thank you for joining, Linus, everyone, for listening. Like and subscribe. These come out every Monday. We might even be posting some larger formats ones soon. But yeah, you'll get the notification. Otherwise, everyone have a lovely day, and I'll see you folks next week.
So yeah.